Hi, and welcome to Conectados, a weekly space where we connect with resources, technology, ideas, neighbors, stories, and much more. I am your host, Cris Oviedo, and I am very happy to be with you today and every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Conectados is a space that looks to connect us to one another and bring us together. Today, we're going to connect with our mental health at work. We're also going to connect with the upcoming events for the weekend and much more. And today, I want to start reminding everyone to make a plan to vote. General elections are less than a month away, and some key dates to keep in mind are the ones that you're looking at on screen. Election day is Tuesday, November the 5th. The due date for advanced voter registration was yesterday, Tuesday, October 15th. However, you can also register to vote at early voting centers during early voting that happens on Thursday, October 23rd, 24th through October 31st. And you can also register to vote at the polls on general election day. The due date to request a mail-in ballot, if you want to receive it via mail or faxed, it has to be received by Tuesday, October 29th. If you want to receive it via email, you must submit your request online by 11:59 p.m. Friday, November 1st. Early voting, Tuesday, October 24th through October 31st. That includes Saturday and Sunday, by the way. And you can vote from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. each day. And please know that as long as you are in line by 8 p.m., you will also be able to cast your vote. And don't forget, November 5th, that's election day. And you could register to vote right there at your polling site on the day of the election if you didn't get a chance to register beforehand. Last week was mental illness awareness week. And it was a week that was focused on raising public awareness about mental health conditions, sharing treatment conversations about mental health, combating stigma, and advocating for better access to care for those experiencing mental illness. And to keep the conversation going today, not to just give it 1 week, right, but to make sure that it stays prevalent in our minds every single day, really. I am joined this morning by Jocelyn Castaños, and she's an innovative and passionate leader and educator with over 20 years of experience who's been making a difference for students and enhancing programs. She's originally from the Dominican Republic. Jocelyn is a passionate mental health advocate and community leader who's serving in NAMI Howard County Board. She's been facilitating focus groups. She's been teaching classes. She's leading community outreach efforts to promote mental health, both in English and in Spanish. And she focuses especially on the mental health of children, youth, and underserved populations. Jocelyn, it's really always an honor to have you share the space with me. I thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to be in your presence.
Likewise, Chris. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. And I want to start today, with because I know NAMI is an organization that focuses on mental health. But what I'm finding many times when I'm in communities that people don't know where to go, right? We're finally normalizing the conversation about mental health, and we hear it a lot. I don't know that we understand it fully yet, but we're at least hearing a lot more of mental health, especially in our younger generations. But many times when people need support, they don't know where to go. So I would love for you to just start telling us what NAMI is.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk about NAMI any opportunity that I get. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we are the nation's largest grassroots effort when it comes to mental health. We are in all 50 states, plus DC, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. There are over 900 affiliates. So within every state, there are multiple affiliates throughout the counties. In the state of Maryland, for example, we have 11 affiliates. And NAMI has three areas where they work. One is education, as you very well know. You've taken some of our classes. Support in terms of support groups and helplines. And finally, advocacy, so that we can advocate for the resources that are needed to be allotted to provide mental health resources to everyone.
Mhm. And you're absolutely right. I had the good fortune, I say, to take one of the classes. It was one of the classes in Spanish, and you know, in so many ways, it was so enriching. In so many ways, it's not just that you go and you learn so much, and you learn a lot. It's almost overwhelming, to be quite frank with everyone who's listening and watching, because I want you to, I want everyone who's listening, everyone who's watching, to understand that this is not an easy conversation, to know that we recognize that there's still stigma, right? That was one of the things that I talked about, that NAMI's working against breaking that stigma. It's um it's like we hear mental health and we immediately feel that there's something wrong, or we immediately think depression. We immediately think worst case scenario, right? And mental health, in my opinion, should be like, when we talk about health, we don't have to be sick to talk about health. We talk about taking care of our health all the time as a preventive thing, as the positive thing. But when we talk about mental health, many times it's this negative connotation that we give to it. We only talk about it when we're having issues, and that's what we're trying to break. And going back to that idea of when I took that class, being in community, with people who are, one, just trying to understand it more and learn more, and two, hearing firsthand from those who are in fact going through, having somebody at home who's going through mental health illness or who's having mental health issues. It just, one, humbles you, helps you see the reality, but also empowers you to help. And also, it gives power to the families, because as they're sharing their stories, they're healing themselves and they're healing those around them. So it was a beautiful experience, and I encourage everyone to go to NAMI's website and look for their classes, look for the opportunities that they have available to all, because you don't have to have a mental illness. You don't have to have someone at home or at work who's going through, mental health issues, to just involve, to just learn more about it. So I encourage you to go and do that. And Jocelyn, I'd love for you to tell us, why you got involved with NAMI. What inspired you to start doing this work?
This work is very personal to me. Mental health is very, very personal. As you said in my intro, I'm an educator for over 20 years. I have two children. Personally, I'm a mom of two amazing girls. They're both in their 20s, in their early 20s. And yes, my youngest had some ADHD issues when she was younger. As a child, she had some anxiety. We knew a little bit about mental health, but it wasn't knowledge that could prepare us for what happened when she became a teenager.
Mm,
When she was 14, and I've been very open about this, and so is she tried to take her life. And really, Chris, nothing could have prepared us for that. We did not know where to turn. We did not know what to do. In our Latino community, it is such a taboo topic that we don't talk about. Little did I know that other kids in the in my own family and in the community were going through the same thing. And it wasn't until I said something.
mm,
And unfortunately, it took us a couple of years to find NAMI. So we were way into an ordeal and hospitalizations, etc., when I was about to lose my mind. And a therapist said, "Why don't you try NAMI? They have parent support groups." And I found a home. I really found a home. And since I joined NAMI 7 years ago, I have not stopped talking about it because I don't want it to be that secret. I don't want it to be taboo. I want us to talk about mental health so that people can get the support that they need.
mm. That's a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing. And I know we had the opportunity to talk in depth about your experience. I think the conversation was in Spanish the last time that we did it. Maybe I'll invite you another time to talk about that experience, because that's really, really important. And more I'm finding, I thought it was only our community, to be honest with you, our Latino community, that had that taboo, that didn't talk about mental health. The more I am in community, the more I find that that's the reality for a lot of the communities, for a lot of the different cultures. This is not something that we talk about. We are strong, resilient communities, and that's how we were raised up. And we just don't talk about mental health. We simply just, it's just not a topic of conversation. So, um, Jocelyn, help us define mental health. Let's start with the basics.
Absolutely. Mental health includes various areas: emotional, psychological, and social well being. It affects really everything: how we think, how we feel, how we act, and it also impacts how we make decisions and how we make healthy or unhealthy choices. Personally, however, I'd like to talk about mental health being health, period. There is no mental health unless you have physical health, and vice versa. There
Mm.
is no physical health without mental health. So we've been working on having parity, making sure insurance covers both, making sure employers are open to you taking a mental health day if you need it. You don't have to be in a hospital. You don't have to be sick physically for you to need that time to take care of yourself. And let's not wait until, as you said earlier, we are at the extreme or we're experiencing illness to take care of ourselves. Mental health is health, period. Just like you try to eat healthy to keep your body in shape, you should also do activities that keep your mind healthy.
Ah, what a beautiful concept to just talk about health and understand and put it all together, right? Our health are both physical and mental. It's just our health. So we got to take care of both, and we got to do the right things in order to do that. Um, let's talk about mental illness, because last week was actually mental illness awareness, and I think that that's where I actually think that this is where that disconnect happens, that people think of mental health as an equivalent to mental illness, that it we use it interchangeably, that we don't understand
Hmm.
that mental health is one thing and mental illness is a different thing. So help us please, really understand what we're talking about when we say mental illness, and why it's important that we put attention to our mental health, right?
Yeah,
First, so that we don't, maybe, if so we can prevent in many cases mental illness.
absolutely. Well, mental illness can be defined as a health condition that changes a person's thinking, feelings, or behavior, or possibly all three. It causes distress, it causes difficulty in functioning in life in general. So it's important to understand that it is a disease. I sometimes find that the word mental is a misnomer because we
Mm.
think, oh, if it's mental, it's in your mind, you can push through it. But it's a disorder of the brain where biological chemicals are not working properly. And the brain is just like any other organ in your body that can have an illness. So it's not something that is just in your mind, as some people may want to think. It's an organ. And if anything, Chris, it's probably the most important organ because it controls everything else in our body, everything we do and think and act. Therefore, it is something that can take control of our entire life. It's very important to think of a mental illness just as any other illness instead of attaching the stigma, the shame, instead of thinking that a mental illness is a character flaw. And sometimes the reason that that happens is because we can't see a mental illness. We only see the behaviors attached to it. So if you see someone with a broken leg, you feel empathy. You know, if somebody has a fever, you can see it, you can measure it. It's a little bit harder with a mental illness. So that's why sometimes we are so stigmatized when it comes to mental illness.
Mm. Jocelyn, you just spoke such truth right now. You can't see it, you only see behavior. And because it's only behavior, then we think the person is just acting up. You can just change your behavior, if you just make that decision. And I know these are words that I have used, right, in the past, like you can push through it, you can do this, and it comes from a good place. Please do know and understand that this really comes from a good place, from a loving place, because we want the best for the other person, right? But help us maybe understand a little bit better of how to, when we are recognizing or how do we recognize, right, that it is a mental illness? How can we, if we're seeing somebody, and instead of saying these kind of things, how do we, what can we do, how can we be more compassionate, maybe is the right word, how can we be more alert, maybe, how can we be more mindful and try to really understand whether it is just behavior that's passing and it really is just somebody who's acting up in that moment, or if it's a mental health illness.
Well, two things. One, I would say only a professional can diagnose a mental illness. So I want to put that out there. We won't leave this podcast being able to diagnose. However, the second thing I would say is we know the people around us.
Yes.
So workplace mental health is the topic this year for Mental Health World Day, and at work, you know your coworkers. You know what they're like. If all of a sudden you are seeing a coworker that is secluded, no longer wants to talk, if you're sitting in the lunchroom and they're not eating, if they're very worried, if you start seeing substance abuse, if it's taking control of their life. So we all can have a bad day. Chris, you and I know that. We all can have a bad day, right? It's typical. It happens to all of us. But if you're seeing someone that day in and day out is having these issues, if you're seeing someone who perhaps it's not even coming to work, absenteeism, they're always out because of one reason or another. Feel free to be open and to say, "Hey, I care about you. I noticed that I'm seeing X, Y, Z. Are you okay? Do you want to talk about what's going on?" And be there and listen. It's more important to listen than anything that you can possibly say. And then as you're listening, see if you can offer help, if you can connect them with someone that can help them. Be very present. They may not want to talk about it because we all know it's such a taboo topic, but feel free to say, "Hey, I don't want to pry. I'm sure you may not want to talk about it, but I'm here. Whenever you're ready, I'm here to talk about it." And they may not talk to you that day, but they may think about that. And the next time they're having a very difficult day, they may very well reach out and say, "Chris, I know you tried to talk to me last week and I wasn't open. Can we talk now?"
Hmm. Just being available, it sounds like, can make a big difference, right? And no judgment, but noticing, right?
Yeah.
Noticing, I think, is that it's something very powerful that we can all do. Just noticing, if we see change in behavior, that's constant. Like Jocelyn said, we all have bad days, we all have bad moments. But if we're seeing that it's becoming a constant, somebody who was very active and participating suddenly is just not participating anymore, is not enjoying the things. Somebody who really enjoyed dancing and now is not doing that anymore. Somebody who really enjoyed walking, now if you say let's go for a walk, constantly saying I'd rather not do that. Just those little red flags. Um, and thank you for helping us remember that. No, we're not going to become experts with this conversation, and we're not going to be able to diagnose anyone. However, what we can do is be that supportive, is be a supportive person, that support, that listening ear, you know, that may not be anywhere else otherwise. So thank you for elevating that. I really appreciate that, Jocelyn. Um, as we said, Mental Illness Awareness Week was last week, and the theme, as you brought it up, was my mental health at work. Tell us about the importance of prioritizing mental health in the workplace. I want to just use health, but I don't think I think that if we just say health, it's still not gonna people are still not gonna put mental health right in there. So mental health in the workplace.
Mental health is critical in the workplace. After all, we spend most of our day at work. I looked it up and was just, my mouth just fell open. On average, Chris, in our lifetime, we spent over 90,000 hours at work.
Wow.
So this is the place where you are most of your time on earth. And on top of that, work is where stressors come in. Uh, Job deadlines, sometimes work overload, sometimes there's miscommunication, priorities are not clear. There's a lot of pressure. at work. There can be a lot of pressure at work. And also, it's a place where you relate to many, many different people who are different from you. So you have to manage those relationships. You have to deal with conflict. So it's important to take care of ourselves, to take breaks, to eat properly, to eat sleep properly, to take that time when we need to be away from work to recharge. Rest is not something that we have to earn. Rest is necessary. Just like we say, I have to go to work. I have to rest as well. And sometimes we don't put two and two together, especially if we love what we do. I love what I do as a dean in an online university. And, especially those of us who work from home since the pandemic, you could spend all day in front of that computer and in meetings and
Mhm.
not take care of your physical and mental needs. And it's important to step away, to stretch, to walk outside, to see nature, to eat properly, to hydrate properly. I always have my water in hand. So it's important to take care of ourselves at work and to make sure that we're in a place where we can do that.
Mm. And there's statistics that show that when we are taking care of ourselves and when our employers are taking care of us, we're more productive too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, talking about that, how can employers and employees really prioritize mental health at work? It almost seems like it's not the place. It almost seems like work is not the place where you need to be thinking about or prioritizing mental health. It just seems like I take care of my mental health after work. That's why I go to the gym. That's why I go and do all of the things that you just mentioned. That's when I go to rest and things like that. So how do we marry the two? How do we bring mental health into the workspace and how can we prioritize it both as employers and employees?
Starting with employers, there's a lot they can do. And I think first and foremost is about reducing stigma and
Mm,
talking about it. Not when mental illness awareness comes around, not when mental health month comes around only, but all the time. It's important to have those conversations to reduce stigma. It's important to improve engagement and a sense of belonging at work, offering perhaps stress management courses, mindfulness, meditation, breathing exercises, breaks. I mentioned breaks. I always try to end my meetings 5 minutes ahead of the next ones. I always pull this out and say, okay, 5 minutes now. But team, these 5 minutes are not for you to go answer emails before the next meeting. Take a break. Making sure sometimes that we even schedule those in our calendar because it prevents burnout. And like you said, we are much more productive. We are happier employees if we are taking care of ourselves, distributing materials and resources, recognizing also that communities of color may have different needs. So when an employer is planning a health insurance plan, an EAP, an employee assistance program, it's important to know that different communities may have different needs. Paying well. I know this may sound like we all should know that, but paying well and providing the resources and providing a respectful and caring environment is a way to take care of mental health and to prevent mental illness in the workplace.
Just like that is so powerful like to think as an employer is it's it's what we're going to talk about next is this culture of care, is this culture of caring, right? Which, like you said, it sounds so common sense in many ways, and yet we need to be reminded of it. Talk to us a little bit more about that, about this culture of caring, what it means, what it looks like, what it feels like, and how do we implement it?
Well, culture of caring is a workplace environment where everyone feels seen, valued, supported, and welcome as a part of the community, where all employees feel that that employer cares about them. It's a place where we can foster open communication and trust. It's not possible to do that if we try to grow numbers rather than grow people, right?
Hmm.
You have to grow people, you have to invest in people to make a culture of care happen. If we go into a meeting, I always start a meeting with a check-in, especially with my one-on-ones. How are you doing? How's so and so? Oh, did so and so get into college? How's the new puppy? Just making those connections. I don't know when how are you became a greeting just like hello. Oh, how's everybody doing? And then we go right into the topic. Let's take time to get to know each other and to support each other and to have an open communication where most of all people can feel free to ask for help. If you're in an environment where you have to think twice about taking a day off, or you have to think twice about stepping away from the computer and taking time for yourself because somebody's going to ping you and, oh my gosh, I have to be in front of the computer all 8 hours, then you're not in a culture of care and in what I would like to call a safe psychological space.
A safe psychological space. That's powerful. That's really, really powerful. As we talked about the employers and some of the things that they can do to really instate this culture of caring and to really make sure that the environment is a safe psychological environment. I love that. I absolutely love that, thinking about a workplace. But as an employee, I may feel powerless because I don't, I may be even afraid I might lose my job if I speak up. So how can employees advocate for themselves? How can they also maybe express their needs, or what can they do to support and help maybe bring this idea of a culture of caring into their workplaces?
The first thing I want to say is that mental illness is like any other illness or disability. You are protected at your employer. You cannot be fired because you have a mental illness. You are entitled to accommodations. One example from SHARM, the Society of Human Resource Management, a conference that I attended, was a woman who kept making mistakes and getting distracted, and not being able to do her work. And it just so happened that her desk was right by a hallway where everybody was passing. And with her ADHD, attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, she couldn't focus.
Mm,
The employer had to move her desk and put it in a place that was more conducive to her doing her work. So you are protected at work if you have a mental illness. Please know that. In terms of advocating for yourself, um, start with your manager perhaps or with your colleagues to start to build that culture. Go to human resource officers and ask, what's available for me. If
mm.
that conversation is not already happening, I hope it's happening because we are trying as employers and as leaders to change that conversation. That's why I think this is such a timely topic this year. But start having those conversations with your colleagues, with your leader, with human resources, so that we can start normalizing the conversation and providing the support that people need.
I think that's so important to really normalize the conversation at work too, because I think, like I said, many times we think of, I will take care of my mental health outside of work. Work is not the place where I take care of my mental health. And when you think about work being the place where you spend the most time, you have to take care of your mental health there. It's impossible to just think that it's gonna happen when I'm at home, when I'm elsewhere, when I get the chance to relax. That's when I'll do it. And to normalize it and to make it a part of our life, and to be able to talk to our employers and have those little breaks. I love your little take a five recess break. I love that. I love that, little things like that that we can do, that we can still in our workplace find out. Maybe there are things already in place for you and you just don't know about them. Read your manual, look about your benefits, look about your resources, what is available to you. I know that many organizations, especially the larger organizations, and maybe a smaller business has a harder time, because some of these things do take, some of them do take, they have a ticket price attached
Yes,
to them,
yes.
right? To be able to offer like support with, through insurance and things like that. I know that they sometimes have ticket prices, but there's other things that have no ticket price attached to them, like making sure that everybody can take 10 minutes throughout their day, at least 3 times a day. What you talked about, just be in an environment that is so welcoming, where you feel that it's okay if I walk away from my computer, somebody happens to call me at that time or ping me at that time, that they understand that I may needed a bathroom break. I may have needed to step away just to clear my mind for 5 minutes, and that's okay. I'm not at jeopardy of losing my job for that. So just having Yeah, ability to breathe. That's what it feels like to me, right? That ability to breathe, to know that I can be a full person, a whole person, and still be appreciated and valued as an employee. I think that's so powerful, Jocelyn. I don't know if you want to expand a little more on that.
Well, I think of harmony. I know people love to talk about work life balance, and to me, that implies that one has to suffer with the other, right?
Mm,
I like to talk about work life harmony, where it's okay that during working hours, I'm participating in this webcast, in this podcast, because it's important to me and it's important to who I am as a human being. I think volunteering and giving back is also so important for mental health because when we feel like we're helping others, that really makes us feel good inside and it makes us a more wholesome human being. So it's that harmony, what I like to call, so that it's not work and home completely compartmentalized. There are days when in the evening I come back downstairs and I work on something, but I was able to take that hour to go do that podcast. That means so much to me and to my community. So it's having that harmony so that we can take care of ourselves, but also be productive and valued employees at work.
mm. And like you said, when we are able to be our whole selves, then we are so much more productive. Like if I know that I'm going to take this 1 hour here for something personal, I'm gonna I'm gonna give that back twice at work later,
100%.
right? And in a happy, and I'm gonna feel so good about it because this was really good for me. So, it's almost like in retribution. We don't think about it and we don't do it that way, but like in retribution, right? I'm gonna now give you twice what I would have given you otherwise because you're good to me, so I'm gonna be good to you. It's just that's how I see life. It's just this boomerang where we give what we get, right? And we get what we give. What kind of resources are available to employers, Jocelyn, in order to really make and prioritize mental health at work?
Well, you know that first and foremost, I'm going to put a plug for NAMI. Absolutely, right? NAMI.org, www.nami.org. NAMI just published, as a matter of fact, resources, tips, tools for employers because of the theme for Mental World Health Day was Mental Health Matters at Work. So you can find many resources there. LinkedIn Learning. Many of us as professionals are on LinkedIn Learning. There are courses about mental health for leaders, about how to create that safe psychological space I was talking about. I also mentioned earlier the Society for Human Resource Management. They have many resources and they have an outstanding certificate that I would recommend entitled Workplace Mental Health Ally.
Mm,
It is a certificate that I really enjoy, and boy, have I taken many courses and even a master's in human services with a specialization in mental health. I really, really enjoyed that course, and this is why. Very practical video scenarios of what happens at work and how to address those situations.
mm,
Testimonials from real employees who are struggling with mental health and how the little things that employers did for them help them succeed at work. And finally, educating the workforce. If you can sponsor, lead, or give time off for your employees to take a course, there are courses that can prepare us for what we were talking about earlier, how to detect those signs, how to talk to people and support them if you think they may be experiencing a mental health concern, disorder, or a mental illness or crisis. Two courses that I would highly recommend: QPR, Question, Persuade, Refer, which is offered by the QPR Institute, and Mental Health First Aid, which we just did one a couple of weeks ago, and that's offered by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing. There are so many resources. I know I shared all the links with you, so hopefully we can share those with your audience.
oh, absolutely. We will make sure to share all of those links with everyone. And then for employees, I mean, those are great resources for employers, and we want to make sure that mental health is the priority at work. But for employees, both when they're at work and when they're maybe at home, where can they go to find resources?
First and foremost, I'm going to say your primary care physician. If
Mm,
you haven't had your physical in a while, you probably haven't even experienced what is now done routinely, which is a screening for mental health concerns. Your doctor may ask in the last 2 weeks, have you felt depressed? Or how often have you felt depressed? How often have you felt like you don't want to do? the things that were important to you before. So please do take your mental health just as important as your physical health. Make sure you are checking in with your doctor. Employee assistance programs, many employers have them. And then I'm going to put a big plug for 988. 988 launched 2 years ago in July of 2022. And still a lot of people don't know about 988. Instead of calling 911 for a mental health emergency, please call 988. You can call, text, or chat 24 hours, 7 days a week. I know this audience is for our Spanish community, our Spanish speaking community. They also are available in Spanish. I'm going to also put a blog for Mental Health America. They have many resources on their website and they also have screenings. Now, remember, I said only a professional can diagnose a mental illness. However, those screenings could help you figure out is something going on because sometimes you may wonder. It's not that it's taboo and you're pushing it down, but you may wonder, do I really have a problem? So those screenings can help you think about what may be going on and think about, do I need to check in with a professional? And finally, NAMI. Find your local NAMI. We have classes, we have support groups, we have a helpline, we have a lifeline that you can talk to, 1-800 950 NAMI. And we also have a text line, 741-741. So for our young people who may not want to talk about these things over the phone, they could text, and that can be very, very useful.
Hmm. I love that. And I've seen that change just recently, where it's not no longer just calling, where we are really trying to meet people where they are and how they communicate, right? And I know that that's a challenge, so I love this idea of texting. Sometimes we're afraid, though, somebody might recognize my voice. I don't want to be recognized, because there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of stigma that still comes with mental health, and I think that's the first barrier. Being okay with raising the hand and saying, hey, I need help. I think that's the hardest, in my opinion. I think that's the most difficult thing for most people, unless they're in crisis. I think when you're in crisis, then you kind of recognize that you need that. But when you're just starting to have and feel different and act different, and when you just don't feel like you're like yourself, and it's been going on for a few days, and you want to just stay home, and you start kind of having some of those signals, those red flags that I know that we've talked about before. I think it's really difficult to just, one, recognize it, and two, raise the hand and say, hey, I need help. And I love that now there's opportunity to text, there's opportunity to call, there's opportunity to chat. Like, really thinking about this. How do we reach people? Because people's lives matter. And this is life saving work. This can save people's lives. So if you're feeling this way, if you're just not feeling like yourself, you know what? I remember that for myself, for my own, and this is physical health. For my own physical health, I didn't like to go to the doctor. I did not want to go to the doctor. And there was even that, well, I don't want to go. And then they tell me, oh, you have nothing. Just go home and take some water or drink some tea or something like that, right? Or just take the Advil or the Tylenol. Um, but then when my children came, I preferred to be the mother who walked into the doctor's office, and the doctor looked in and said, "And now what? And why are you bringing this healthy child back in here again?" Right? I preferred to be that exaggerated mom who was taking her little baby boy and baby girl for every little hiccup, right? That I wasn't sure what it was, rather than wait to see if it was really something or not. So I think that's how we need to be. We need to be those strong advocates who rather go and be sent home with a pat on the back saying you're okay. Nothing,
Yes,
this is nothing wrong with you, rather than, why didn't you come sooner? Why didn't you come earlier? So be that strong advocate for yourself. Call, text, and just say, hey, I'm feeling a little different now. I've been in my bed. I don't want to roll out of bed. Like, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Whatever it is that you may experience. 988 741 is the other number you can text. Just, ask. Just ask the question, hey, I'm not feeling 100% like myself. I think there's something. And maybe all you need is that conversation. Maybe that is all
absolutely.
you need.
Absolutely. Or that they connect you with someone else that you can continue to talk to.
Yeah.
What do you have to lose? What do you have to
Exactly.
lose, right? And this is a staggering statistic. It takes 10 years between the time when someone starts experiencing symptoms and when they actually get help and treatment. 10 years. Can you imagine,
Wow.
Chris? Can you imagine if you had high blood pressure and you walked around with it for 10 years?
Wow.
And it's because of that stigma and not feeling like you can ask for that help.
Wow. Thinking about that is incredible, Jocelyn.
It's
10
scary.
years is
10
very
years.
scary. 10 years. Like you said, think about an illness. Will you have 10 years? Like, yeah, like would you have 10 years to walk around with it before you take action? Many of them, the answer is no. Many of them, you're never going to even find out what happened, right? What was wrong with you. And by the time you do find out, it's too late. Let's not
And
live
that's
in
what
fear.
happens with mental illness too. So many people who we lose to suicide, who die by suicide, it is preventable. Suicide is preventable, 100%.
Don't wait. If you're feeling a little off, if you're having a bad day, it's okay to talk about your bad days. It's okay. It doesn't have to be an illness. It doesn't have to be a crisis. It can be a bad moment. It can be about something. Maybe you need somebody to help you cope with a stressful situation at work. Maybe, and that's what these numbers are there for, to support us, to help us take care of ourselves. Maybe they'll give you strategies that you have not heard of, or maybe that you have heard in the past. And in the moment, you just can't remember. To have somebody just help you breathe. I cannot tell you how many times I've walked into a meeting and they have said, okay, we're going to take a breathing, we're going to do a breathing exercise. And that's when I realized I don't think I'd be breathing all day. I think I'd be just,
I've been
holding
going, 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 going. Yeah,
it. Yes. And it takes an intentional person to come and say, hey, take a breath, take a breath,
yeah.
just breathe. It's okay. So just to have that support, just to have that moment, you can do that anytime with 988.
Through
Just
my employer, I get Headspace,
Oh, nice.
and it's that bowl to breathe. Sometimes during the day, just doing that can
Yes.
change your day.
Yes. There's apps, there's all sorts of things out there for you. And if you have somebody that you trust, if you have someone in your life that you can call and you can, chat and just kind of like vent, um, use that lifeline. That can be your lifeline. A person can certainly be your lifeline. Jocelyn, how do we support NAMI's life-saving work? How can people get involved? What kind of things can we do? How do we donate? How do we support the work that you guys are doing?
Absolutely. Great question. NAMI Howard County .org is our local organization. You can go to NamiHowardCounty.org and you can give, donate. You can support our events. We happen to have our mystery dinner, which I know you're going to this week.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. We have some tickets left, believe it or not. We thought it was sold out, but we have some tickets left. You can come, enjoy the dinner. It's a mystery dinner, and we have raffles. So even if you cannot come, there are raffle tickets available. They have amazing things. I keep buying more and more tickets, including Ravens tickets. So watch out for that. We have our NAMI walk every year. This coming year is going to be in October in 2025. And we look forward to having people, yes, donate because that's how we keep all the programs that we have available for free, but also just coming out and walk in masses, having all these people with signs and posters talking about mental health is going to help us normalize the conversation. You can also volunteer with us. We have resource tables about at any festival you can think of. This summer was a busy, busy summer, but also throughout the year. We come out to the schools to present to the schools. We come out to employers. So Chris, you were talking about some things take money, some things don't take money. NAMI can come out and present to our employers in Howard County about mental health and about how to support their employees and about how employees can support each other. So, as part of the community outreach committee and being the chair of the committee, I'd love to get in touch and make that happen for people.
That's wonderful. And where can people contact you, Jocelyn, so that they can, keep that conversation going and maybe start that conversation. Maybe this is something new that an
Absolutely.
employer has never thought about.
Absolutely. Feel free to share my contact information, jocelyncastanos at gmail.com. But if you come to NamiHowardCounty.org, there's an info page, a contact us page where you can reach out to us and connect with us. And I would say to keep this conversation going, just go out of this podcast and tell someone at work, a colleague, a leader, hey, I was in this podcast, I was mentioning this, and start having those conversations if they're not already happening at work.
And I am dropping Jocelyn's email on our comments right now for anyone who would like to get in touch with her. JocelynCastanos at gmail.com. That's where you can get in touch with Jocelyn. That's how you can, take this conversation with you at work. That's how you can take action. Taking the conversation is the first great step, and we want you to do that, and we absolutely want you to do that. Sharing this with others, in your family, at work, with your friends, in your networks, absolutely 100%. That's one great first step. We break stigma by normalizing the conversation. Let's take it a step farther.
Yes.
If you are in a position, if you are a manager, if you have a small business, if you are a teacher, if you are a parent, if you want to have this conversation in different environments that you move yourself in, contact Jocelyn, get in touch with Nami, take action, join the mystery dinner that we're going to be participating in. I am so excited to be. I've never been to a mystery dinner. I don't know what to
It's
expect.
so much fun. I won't spoil it for you, but it's so much fun.
So it's gonna be me, my husband, and my daughter who are gonna be joining this Saturday. I'm very very excited that we're gonna get to do that as a family. Um, Participate in that. Get your tickets. There's still time. Participate in the raffle. Read up more. Have conversations. Or I love what you said today as well. Something as simple as really asking the question, "How are you doing?" and stopping and
Mm,
listening and
yes.
stopping and listening, not just keep walking by, but actually stopping and listening and taking the time to connect with people, and how difficult that is this day and age where we're all so busy and we're always rushing to the next thing that we have on our calendars, that we have on our agendas, but how important and how life transforming and how life saving 5 minutes can be of just listening to another person. Jocelyn, what's the message that you would like to leave us with today?
If there's one thing I want you to remember from today is that self-care is not selfish. We must take care of ourselves if we are going to be able to take care of our families, our employees, our community at large. After all, I always say, and that's why I have this here all the time, no one can pour from an empty cup. So
Hmm.
if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. Um, they always tell you in an airplane when I travel for work, put your oxygen mask on first. So please do that. Find whatever works for you. For me, it's running. I love running. I have a race tonight in Colombia at the trails. For me, it's running. Find whatever it is for you and do that very often.
Find what makes you strong, happy, and do it often. Take
Yes.
care of you, fill your cup so you can have something to give to others. I love that. I absolutely
Mhm.
love that as your closing message for this conversation today. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. Always a pleasure to be with you. I appreciate um, your spirit, the way in which you share the message, the compassion that you share, the care that you bring into this conversation, into the space. So thank you, thank you, thank you for bringing your whole self today, this morning, to everyone who's listening and watching to Conectados.
Thank you for all you do for our community and for bringing me to Conectados.
Thank you so much. And we are going to take a little break and we will be right back. today. And we are back with Conectados now, your weekly space to connect with resources, technology, ideas, neighbors, stories, and much, much, much more. I'm your host, Cris Oviedo. And next, I want to connect you with the events that are happening around our county this coming weekend. Starting with this Friday, October 18th, Howard Community College is hosting its second annual Fall for All event. Everyone is invited to come to HCC and explore campus while enjoying the fall festivities, including pumpkin theme activities, face painting, a pumpkin patch, moon bounce, and much more. The event is free, is for everyone, and the fun starts at 11 a.m. and it ends at 2 p.m. Also at HCC on Friday, you have the film program, and everyone is invited to join the Friday film discussions, which are currently focused on famous directors' final films. Join the virtual conversation Friday via Zoom at 7 p.m. This week's movie is The Dead by John Huston. For more details, you can go to howardcc.edu/film festivals. And did you know that walking is Maryland's official exercise? To celebrate and promote walking, the Howard County Local Health Improvement Coalition invites us to take part in this month's Walktober celebration. And many walking opportunities are taking place every day throughout the month of October. This weekend, though, Saturday, you can come at 9 a.m. to the People Tree, and there's two groups that are actually going to be meeting right there. There's the Sneakers and Coffee crew, and there's also the Walk with the Dog crew. So two opportunities to walk in community, to walk around Lake Kinnamaquandi. You can join either one of those groups. They're both free. There's no pre-registration that's required. But if you would like to sleep in on Saturday a little bit more, you can then come at 10:15 and join the Claudia Mayer Tina Broccolino Cancer Resource Center walking group. The meetup for that group is by the bear statue in front of the Whole Foods. So 9 a.m. if you want to get up early, or 10:15 if you want to sleep in a little bit more. The Wild Lake Walktober event is also happening, but that's on Sunday at 4 p.m. You can come and enjoy with your neighbors, take a friendly walk around in Wild Lake, and to find out all the details about all of these events and all of the other events happening, like I said, daily walking events pretty much in Howard County to celebrate Walktober. Just go to the website that you see on screen, howardcountymd.gov/Walktober. And then next up, if you know someone who needs a winter coat, or if you yourself, your family need winter coats or cold weather accessories to stay warm this coming fall and winter months, stop by DCRS's Cold Weather Gear Fall Giveaway event. This is happening Saturday, October 19th from 10 a.m. until noon at the North Laurel Community Center. Things will be distributed on a first come, first served basis, so please plan to arrive early so you can have more to choose from. On Saturday, we're also invited to try a free Krav Maga class at 11 a.m. at Watchdog Krav Maga. And we just heard from Jocelyn, do what makes you happy. Try something new. Maybe you've never tried Krav Maga, and this might be your happy place. I don't know. You have the opportunity to go and try it for free on Saturday at 11 a.m. Try this free class and learn some self-defense moves. No experience is necessary. Watchdog Krav Maga is located at 7180 Troy Hill Drive, Suite G in Elkridge. Mount Airy's Free Fall Fest is also happening this Saturday at the Mount Airy Carnival Grounds. Come for a fun day with your friends and family from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. Admission is completely free. Also on Saturday, you can come to the North Laurel Community Center and Park for the Pink Out Fitness event, a dynamic event dedicated to raising awareness for breast cancer and prostate cancer while promoting a healthy lifestyle. Everyone is welcome to this free event. On Sunday, we're invited to come to the Chrysalis and enjoy the Columbia Orchestra pop concert that's featuring thrilling themes from sci-fi and spy classics like Star Wars and Mission Impossible. The program also includes beloved jazz standards such as Just Squeeze Me and ballads like So Many Stars. Bring a blanket and enjoy this musical journey through the galaxies, both near and far. The concert is completely free. It's for everyone in our community, and it starts at 4 p.m. And those are all the events that are happening around Howard County this weekend. If you'd like to have your events included on our segment, please email me at info@chrisoviedo.com. I will put that on here for you. That's info@chrisoviedo.com. And that's really all I have for this show today. Thank you so much for joining me on Conectados. I will be back next Wednesday at 9 a.m. If you have ideas or comments, you can email them to me at info@crisoviedo.com. Also, if you know someone or if you have a story or a family member of yours or a neighbor or a teacher or coworker or anyone that you know has a life story that you feel that everyone should know about, please contact me. Please send me that email at info@crisoviela.com. I am trying to build this tapestry of stories of people in our community. I think that we all have beautiful stories to share and tell, and we can all learn from each other and we can grow together as community by connecting with each other. And that's what I'm trying to do here with Conectados. So please, if you or anyone you know has a story that you think everyone needs to listen, everyone needs to hear, please contact me, info@crisoviela.com. And if you enjoyed the content today and you found it valuable, please share with others so that they too may benefit from it. Thank you so much for watching. And until next week, I am Cris Oviedo.